Hello and welcome back to our video series on why I love celibacy. Today, I would like to suggest that one of the reasons, and the last reason I'll share about why I love celibacy, is because it's so countercultural and so counterintuitive. Let me share with you a story from a number of years ago when a parishioner of mine after Mass came up, and we'll call her Gladys. So Gladys came up to me after Mass, and Gladys said, "Oh, Father, it's too bad that you can't get married and you can't have a wife and kids." And I wanted to look at her and say, "Gladys, you have no idea the level of love that I get to experience every single day." Of course, Gladys didn't quite fully understand this. She had 9 kids of her own. She saw the beauty of marriage. She saw the beauty of having children and raising them. Sort of the cultural norm, that's what happened. So that's what Gladys knew, and that's what Gladys loved. So no fault of her own. But celibacy to Gladys, and really to a lot of people, is counterintuitive. It's countercultural. So instead of telling Gladys, you have no idea the level of love I get to experience every day, in a moment of grace, I was able to say, "Oh, well, thank you, Gladys. Just keep praying for me." And Gladys smiled and went on with the rest of her day. Anyway, I would like to sort of share with you a little bit about how the great joy of celibacy has been a part of my life, especially in those moments that seem the most counterintuitive or the most countercultural in terms of our understanding of happiness. The moments I have been most happy in my priesthood are the moments that I have given the most, the moments I have, even the most difficult moments, the biggest moments of suffering. So I remember a couple moments in particular. So whenever I do a wedding and I see a couple professing their love for each other, or a couple bringing their child for baptism, it's a struggle. I mean, I see that family, I see the love that they have for each other, and I think to myself, dang, that looks awesome. However, I have to remind myself, and I keep coming back to this time and time again, that what I get to do is not just serve one family, one spouse, one set of children, but I get to serve an enormous family. I get to serve many spouses in their attempt to be divine images of God's divine love. I get to serve many children in assisting them to live out the call that God has given them. And that's an incredible dignity to be able to give them that. I also recognize a number of times in my life when I've sort of said to myself, if only for this one moment, like whatever happened, if only for this one moment in this person's life, I'd be willing to give every sacrifice, every pain, every suffering that I've endured as a priest, everything that I've experienced in celibacy, it would all be worth it if just for this one moment. There have been times in the confessional when somebody's confessed their sins. There have been times praying with somebody on their deathbed. There have been times with somebody in some sort of particular struggle that at the end of the day, I've prayed about that and I've thought about that, and like, okay, there's lots of sufferings and sacrifices as a priest, but I remember thinking to myself, all of them are worth it if only to be in that one moment for that one person, for that one encounter of Christ's love and hope and eternal life. All of it is worth it if just for that one moment. And here's the great thing, those moments happen somewhat often or with somewhat regularity. And so the priesthood and celibacy is so worth it, despite its sort of countercultural nature, its gifts and everything that's there. It's totally worth it even just for those moments. Here's the other thing. There have been so many times at the end of a very difficult day, a day of suffering, a day of pouring myself out, a day of difficulty, that I've gotten to the end of the day and said to myself, wow, that day sucked. However, I've also thought to myself, that is exactly what I was created for. This is exactly what God made me for, to love, to give everything, to be in those sucky situations, to struggle and to suffer. This is what my life is about. What more could I ask for my life than to totally give of myself? Celibacy allows me to be able to do that. It is a struggle to see sort of different settings of life, to see the great beauty of a married couple on their wedding day, to see the baptism, to see all these joys, and to say, oh man, that looks darn good. But at the end of my day, almost every day, I can look back and say, if only for this one moment of the day, if only to confect the Eucharist, to give people the body and blood of Christ, if only to be in the confessional for that one person so that they can experience God's forgiveness, if only to be with that one couple struggling in their marriage or whatever the case might be, it's worth every bit of suffering. It's worth every bit of sacrifice. It's worth every bit of struggle to be radically available for that person, to be an instrument of God's love and grace for that one person. It's worth all of it. This is the great gift that I've experienced in celibacy. And so when I get to the end of every day, most days are pretty good. Some days are pretty sucky. But no matter what kind of day I've had, I can look at it and say, what more would I want than to be able to give every day, from this day to the next, to be able to be radically available to serve, to love in good times and in times of suffering, to be an instrument of Christ, and to be able to be there to love others and be loved in return. This is why I love celibacy, and I hope you've come to recognize the beauty of this life as well, no matter what vocation you might be in. Thank you for allowing me to love you through my priesthood and celibacy, and thank you for loving me in return. God bless, and stay holy and stay healthy.